everyone. Welcome back to Finding God in the Busy. Today I have Melanie Redd, and I am so excited. We've already been chatting it up, and I think you're going to have fun meeting her today. We are talking about how to find God in those busy places in our lives, but also how to stay grounded and centered in ourselves. And it's been so fun to see all the different things that people have to say about the way that they do it. And it's just been super fun for me to learn all the different ways, and I hope you're having fun learning too. Today, Melanie is going to just teach us. She's an encourager, she's a speaker, she's a writer, she's a pastor's wife. She is a woman who is continually helping women have success in their ministries and success in their life, kind of a coaching consultant. She does all kinds of things to really help women step into their gifting and their ministry and what they're good at. She's a blogger and writes profusely online. So you're just going to enjoy this interview today as much as I've enjoyed getting to know her. A special thing about her is she's graduated 2 people this week. Her husband graduated with his PhD, and her daughter graduated with her bachelor's degree all this last week. So she is a woman who knows about being busy and having busy family life along with ministry and all the rest. So, Melanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's fun to be able to be in Tennessee and California at the same time.
I know, right? She said it's 40 there, and it's 75 today here. It's the middle of December here, and it doesn't feel much like Christmas, but that's okay. We're enjoying the warm.
I think that's nice. California would be a nice place to visit again.
Yeah. So Melanie, tell us about how you find God. What do you do to nourish yourself spiritually in your daily walk?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny, you and I were talking about that the other day, and I was thinking about a typical day. And usually what I try to do every morning is start the day with him. Even if it's just 15 minutes, I spend some time getting quiet, getting still. I have a journal, a Bible, devotional book, and my goal is just to make myself, before I do anything else, before I get on my cell phone or get on my computer, to focus on the creator of this universe and just turn my attention to heaven is what I attempt to do. And so I'll spend some time in his word. I'll spend some time praying. I'll journal, and I'll just get ready for the day. And I think that's a good way to start, to connect with him at the beginning of the day. And so that's just my beginnings. That's what I try to do. And then I was thinking of another thing that I love to do is at the end of my devotion, I try to take one thing with me for the day. So I'll try to find a verse, even if it's just 3 or 4 words. Like I had one this morning it was at the end of a passage I was reading in Psalm 89. And it just says this: you are ever faithful. And so all day long, I've thought about God is ever faithful. God is always faithful. And there's just something about having that promise that we can carry with us that gives us greater faith, that strengthens us, gives us more courage for the day. And so those are 2 things that I do to just start my day.
So what happens if you miss that, Melanie? What happens if you miss your quiet time?
Bad. The day doesn't go so well, but it happens. There are days you get up late. There are days somebody needs something, one of my kids or my husband will need something, or there'll be some reason we get out the door real quickly. Right. And on those days, I rely heavily on worship music. I'm one of those people that loves music and loves to sing. And so I have it in my car. We have a couple stations locally that play Christian music. I still have some CDs that I'll play. And sometimes it's just a song that I'll pull up on my phone, a go-to on YouTube. And just to hear the words for 5 minutes to a great song, sometimes that helps my focus, especially on those days where I miss, or I just need a little refresher time with the Lord.
Music is a great.
Yeah, I think music is a great.
Returning our brain back to the Lord.
There's something about the words to the songs, and on a lot of the channels like on YouTube, they'll keep a trail or a trace of what you've been looking at. Yeah. So you can go back and pull up your favorite song real easily that way, and it's free. So I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah. How do you stay centered when you're going a million directions and you're helping your husband, with school, or he's having to rely on you to do everything around the house, and you're, sometimes that gets overwhelming. How do you come back to center? What do you do to recalibrate yourself?
One of the gifts that I have, and I think everybody this would benefit from this, no matter where you are or what stage of life, is I have some friends around me that are allowed to ask me anything they want. And sometimes I don't like their questions, but they hold me accountable. They ask me good questions. How's your quiet time? How's your marriage? How's it going with your kids? How are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting enough sleep? And I have a couple friends, one is older, one is younger, and they're just in my life as prayer partners and friends, but they also ask really good questions. And I think we all need that friend or two that we know loves us, that also deals with us, just speaks the truth in love. And so I have some of those in my life, and I think they keep me focused. And, I think if you have 20-something-year-old children, you stay very humble. I don't know, those that are watching or listening, but it does seem like our children keep us down to earth.
Yeah.
And keep us reminded that we're just regular people doing regular things. And so I think the people around me, my husband is a good support and encouragement. But those friendships are sweet, especially with other women, woman to woman or man to man, to have some people in your life that are not your relatives that just love you and pray for you and encourage you in your marriage and in your ministry and in your walk. And so I highly recommend to those of your listeners and those that are watching, if you don't have somebody like that, ask God to give you some. We've lived in several cities, and every time I've asked God to give me an older woman, especially, that I can talk to. And so that's a big plus to keep us focused on the right things.
So I noticed that you've written books on friendship.
I have.
Tell some of the women, because that's kind of been a theme through some of the interviews that I've done so far, has been the connection piece. And I know sometimes it's really hard for women to connect. Can you speak just for a couple minutes or two on how to find those friends, how to connect in that area?
Yeah, we wrote a little book. I have a friend, Allison Tymeyer, and she's 24, cutest thing. And we got to be friends through blogging. And she actually was in Colorado, and I was here in Tennessee. And we became friends online, and then we got to meet in person. And I loved her more when I met her in person. But because we had talked so much online and read each other's things we had written, we got to be friends, and she was very shy. And typically I'm more of an extrovert, but we wrote a book together. And we just talked about real simple ways to connect. And for a lot of women, it's just taking the first step. Finding someone, and you may have to, now some of your women, people listening may take this to the extreme, but you may need to walk around your church or your office and look for some women and see, what are they like? Are they positive? Are they encouraging? Do you get to see them with their husband or their children? When you're drawn to a woman, when she seems to have something that you respect or admire, that's a good tip that might be a woman. You could just say, hey, can we go have coffee? Or do you have time to have lunch this week? Yeah. And I know when women do that with me, I'm always encouraged and blessed when a woman reaches out to me. Yeah. And so, we don't say no. Most women are very open. We love to have someone invite us. And so I would say to that woman that's feeling a little lonely, is you pray and ask God to give you a friend, and then you start looking. I mean, if you're going to pray, you need to be looking also. Right. And there's some precious ladies out there who are not connected that would love to connect. And so just through inviting them to coffee may start a wonderful friendship. And so I would say first steps is just you sort of have to make yourself get out there a little bit.
I like that. I think that's, you have to step a little bit out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Put yourself a little bit out there. You be the friend first.
Yes.
The friend
and most people like that. They'll at least go have coffee with you. But there's a church locally here that they do discipleship that way. They'll say, look around for somebody you respect or admire, and then ask them to coffee and see if you hit it off. And you may or may not, but you may find great things in common. Your kids are the same age, or you went to the same high school or college, or the Lord. You may immediately be able to talk about what is God doing in your life, and find a sweet sister that way. So
who could be an influence to help you stay connected and grounded. And
yes, and we're living in a day where we need believers around us. I don't think we have to be like insulated in our bubble, but there's so much of the world that presses in on us. Mm-hmm. And I know you have to be intentional with people. And so I need time at church. I need time with Christian friends. And, there's too much else pulling at us. And I'm a pastor's wife, but I still need time with Christian friends and time in worship. So those would be encouragements on that. And I would just say, don't give up. To that shy lady who's scared to take the first step, there's other people out there who love a good listener. They love a sweet, quiet friend. I have many of them. I love the depth than the perception of a quiet friend.
Yeah.
And so don't let the fact that you're shy keep you from reaching out.
I think that's so important. I think the introverted ones of us out there hear some of that and like, I could never do that, but you can do that.
Yeah.
I'm introverted, tend to be more introverted. And I think, stepping outside your comfort zone is great. It expands it a little bit. And,
yeah, it's kind of like going off the high dive at the swimming pool. You just get up there, and you make yourself do it. You count to 3 and you jump.
I have a confession, I've never jumped off the high dive.
Well, maybe the low dive for some. You are an introvert.
Yeah, no, never off the high dive.
I know. Well, it is hard for those of us. I usually, now I will tell you one of my secrets, and this wasn't about friendship, but this may help someone, is I usually think of 3 or 4 questions that I can ask anybody to start a conversation. Like you might say, even to someone you don't know, what have you been working on lately? Or what are you excited about in your life? Not those yes and no questions, but if you ask a question about, tell me about your family, then that gives people the opportunity to talk. So for you shy people, I had a friend that was very shy, and she followed me around and she wrote down the questions that I asked, literally. And she said, you just asked 5 or 6 questions. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, I wrote them down because she was so shy. And she actually would look at the questions before she'd go into a social setting. So she'd have something to talk about. That's okay. Put them on your cell phone,
Eventually you practice that and it becomes a part of, you're just, once you get 5 or 6 questions and you do it 3 or 4 times, you've got those questions.
It gets easier. Yeah. And it makes it sweeter. I think it connects all our relationships, and it makes it sweeter with your relationship with the Lord when you have another Christian sister who you can talk about those things with. So, yeah. So that's just an encouragement. Yeah.
So what are some of the tips that you have throughout the day, reconnecting back to God?
Okay. Yeah. You would ask me that.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I love to, sometimes what I will do, and it sounds silly, but especially if things I get anxious or they get too busy, is I will just take a deep breath. I mean, a big deep breath, and I will look to heaven often, and I'll just say, help. Or I'll just pause, and I talk to God throughout the day. Sometimes I do it out loud. And so, my kids aren't in the house a lot, so I work from home. And so I'll just say, Lord, I don't know what to do about this. Or I'll had an issue this morning with a girl with one of her social media accounts. And I did look to heaven, help. Would you help me figure this out? Or it may be thanks. Thank you for allowing that. And it's just breathing real short prayers all day long. Yeah. And it makes it sweeter because he's listening. He's aware. He knows and he cares, and he's the best person that I could talk to.
And it's just that small turning back to him.
It's just sort of a little popcorn prayer, a little simply lifting our eyes up for a second and looking back to heaven.
Yeah.
And, really he's the only one that can fix most of our problems anyway. And so, it's just a good reminder to me. Sometimes I'll actually look up because that helps me to focus.
Refocus.
That's kind of a simple thing. Another thing I'll do is when I get frustrated or when I'm anxious, I will make myself bounce. I have a male friend that says he does this when he's tempted to think the wrong thoughts about a woman. He says, I bounce my eyes. But I think we can do that as women. We can bounce our thoughts. We're much more tempted to worry or get stressed or get upset or get emotional. And I found myself, this works, is I'll catch that negative thought that's coming to my mind, and I'll say, okay, Lord, and I'll take it to him. And so it's just a prayer. It's, this is starting to stress me out, or I'm going to be with whoever it is that stresses you out, or I don't know how we're going to pay for this. Yeah. And it's amazing how just bouncing my thoughts, pushing the negative away and pushing back to the Lord with, hey, this is what's bothering me, or this is what's hard. That helps too. And that's just throughout the day. It's just a quick, quiet prayer. Yeah. So
now, tell us a little bit about your social media stuff that you help women with. You mentioned that, and
it's kind of fun. Yeah. Well, I've been a blogger for about 3 years, and a couple of years ago, some people started asking me would I help them. And so I like Pinterest and I like Facebook and all these accounts. And so it's been really fun. I help these women. Some of them are pastors' wives, some are bloggers, but they'll call and say, hey, I need a little help. I want to reach more people. And so that's what I do. I help other people reach more people. And it's been a blast because it's a lot more fun to brag on somebody else than ourselves.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It's a lot more fun to cheer somebody else on sometimes and see them experience success. So I've got about 15 people that I've helped this last year. And some have been as gifts. Some have paid me a small fee. But it's been a gift to our family financially. And it's also been a lot of fun to encourage other people and to kind of help them solve their problems or work through their issues. And I had a friend the other day, it's funny sometimes, she didn't know how to get her materials from an old computer to a new one. And so we just worked on transferring. She had tons of pictures, and she's a singer. She sings, Christian singer, sings to churches all over the place, and she needed her lyrics. And so we just spent the afternoon moving things from computer to computer. But I also get to do a lot of ministry when I do that. I get to talk to people about their families, and, so I call it counseling and social media. Coaching and social media. So it's been a lot of fun.
How sometimes we think the spiritual, like, okay, I got to do this quiet time over here for, with God and this over here, but how life flows and how much more integrated it really is.
Especially for women. We're kind of like spaghetti. Everything just all mushes together anyway. And so that's been fun to do. And, I look forward. I was just talking to a girl this morning that she helps women to lose weight and to eat better. And so I may be helping her this next year. So it's kind of a neat combo. It's kind of ministry / business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's been sweet. Yeah. And so I thought of a couple other things too. You'd asked earlier, just real practical things people can do, to stay close to the Lord. I constantly have a good blog or an article or a book handy. And when I'm at a doctor's office or I'm waiting on someone and I have 15 minutes, I love to fill my mind with good things instead of just being on my phone. You can do it on your phone, but I love having some good material, something encouraging and positive that I'm putting in my mind throughout the day. Yeah. And so that's another way to stay close to the Lord, is just have podcasts or blog sites or websites that you can go to when you have a few minutes, or you just need a quiet moment with the Lord, and for 5 minutes you can read and be encouraged.
Yeah. And switch your mind. I think you said something a little bit earlier about taking those thoughts and just switching them. Just that little subtle shift can make such a big difference.
Yes.
In a day.
Yes. Yeah. My daughter that just graduated from college, we were talking about that recently, about your mindset and where you focus. And for girls her age, it's a challenge because it's easy to be on social media and looking at how perfect everyone's life is. And sometimes you just need to be reminded of other things. And so I found when I have other tabs open or sites marked that I can go to, that's an encouragement during the day.
Yeah. And quick, you can have it at your fingertips.
Yes, it doesn't have to. Yeah, it doesn't have to be hours and hours.
Yeah,
and everybody's got their cell phone with them, and so you can be encouraged on social media, but to have some things marked and ready, whether it's a blog or an article, or you have a book handy with actual paper, that can be a good thing too. Yeah. And so I have found that helps when I'm wanting to focus my thoughts back on the Lord.
And have it be intentional, the intentional focus. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be long. I've found if I can give the Lord a couple minutes an hour, it might just be 5 minutes an hour, but it's amazing how much better that makes my day.
Yeah. It's the intentional focus. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Melanie, tell us a little bit about your gift that you have for our audience. When they opt into the box below us, remember to go down to the box. Tell us about that gift.
Okay. Well, about a year ago, I wrote a series of posts, and it was kind of funny. It was never meant to be a series or any big deal, but my husband and I were coming home from a trip, and I said, tell me some things men like to hear. And so he just told me, I came up with 5. He had 5, and I typed them up, put them out there. That still is my favorite post that people read. And so I came up with one for 5 things women want to hear, 5 things boys need to hear, 5 things girls need to hear. And so I have those they're typed out in a PDF, so people can print them, put them on the fridge, or just but I've got those, and you got a link that takes them, and they can get 1 or all 4 of those as a gift. And they may want to check out the post, especially the man one. It's kind of fun to hear from a husband's perspective. But that's just been a positive thing on our ministry. And so I thought your readers and those that listen might enjoy just having those lists.
Yeah, I think that's great. Okay, guys, so go down and click on the box, and you can get access to Melanie's lists. And I'm going to click it and check it out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be great.
So earlier we talked about how Melanie's in Memphis and I'm in LA, and how we can have 40 and, be in 2 places at one time. So that's kind of fun. So
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. Yes.
Any last thoughts as we wrap up here, Melanie? Anything that you want to say is a final last thought to our listeners?
Sure. Sure. Well, I think my encouragement, and I share this a lot when I speak to groups, is just continue to pursue the Lord. Over and over in the Bible, it'll say, "Seek me, and you will find me. Draw near to God, and He'll draw near to you." And I think for a lot of us, we get out of the habit, or we grow weary, or we're just tired. But I want to encourage you: don't stop seeking Him, because there is nothing like the peace that we have when we stay in close fellowship with Him.
Yeah.
And so I miss the peace when I'm not close to Him.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the sweetest part of the relationship, is just knowing this calm heart that He'll give us when we spend time with Him and when we look to Him. And so I encourage your listeners and readers, keep on seeking Him.
Yeah.
It is well worth every minute that you spend doing that.
For sure. Right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I think you said the key, even it's sweet, even that when we get out of step, we miss that peace. That's almost a gift too, that missing that peace, that shalom, that recentering, coming back to the Lord. So.
Well, and I would say this too, if you've been away, for those that have been away, you can always come back. It's as simple as just stepping back toward Him. I love that there's this incredible grace and this love. And I think sometimes we get away and we think, I've been away too long. God doesn't care for me. But He does. He loves you, and He cares about your life, and He wants to hear from you. Yeah. And so just take a step back. I mean, it's just as simple as "Help, Lord," or "I need you," or "I've missed you." And I believe the moment that it's like the prodigal son, the moment that father in the story in the Bible saw his son coming toward him, he ran to him. And so somebody needs to hear today, God will run to you. He will take a step toward Him. Yeah.
Take one step and He'll run the rest of the way.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much for spending time with me and for telling your story and sharing your life with our listeners. Just so good. So good to meet you and talk to you on the phone and talk to you now. So thank you.
I have enjoyed it too. Thank you.
Thank you for being my guest.
Oh, I've enjoyed it. And I wish the best to you and to your ministry.
Thank you. And same for you, Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.